Nifty EBIF. That was Tracy's name for this panel. I should give her credit for that, or throw the credit off for me. Actually, I wanted to call the panel, Get Your EBIF On. Who remembers Leslie's column when she talked about EBIF? Actually, I think I know the answer to this question, but is there anybody here who doesn't know what EBIF is? Good. We don't have to explain it. Yay. All right. So the purpose of this session today is to actually provide some demonstrations of some interesting things that you can do with EBIF. As you've probably heard in many sessions so far the last couple of days, EBIF is deployed in nearly 40 million households across all the major North American cable operators. And the real idea behind this is how to leverage the existing platform and how to extend it and what you can do with it. And I don't know how many of you participated or attended the debate yesterday, but yes, most of these exciting things involve a second screen, and I'm okay with that. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, we have Todd Walker, Senior Vice President of Video Product Development at Comcast. Go ahead and get on up there. Todd's responsible for managing the development for product strategy and definition of the video products, including interactive program guides, video on demand, EBIF and true two-way platforms, and interactive applications.
Thank you. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me okay? Good enough? So I'm going to talk a little bit about EBIF. EBIF for a lot of people is still a dream, whether they're going to use EBIF for this, that, or the other thing. For us, it's just now an inherent part of Comcast's DNA. We don't really think about it on a daily basis because it just runs. Almost everything we do when we communicate to our subscribers on a daily basis takes some advantage of EBIF and the EBIF platform that we've deployed. So I'll give you a little bit of history of what we've done. We really started deploying our user agent in Q4 of 2008. So that was just about 4 years ago that we started putting that out. And we actually started deploying it here in the Bay Area. It was the first systems we put a lot of things on. Caller ID in Q4 of 2008. We did our first Spotlight RFI ads here in 2009. We deployed the Home Shopping Network in Q1 of 2009, again right here in the North Bay. And then through the remainder of 2009 and 2010, we really deployed to all of our markets, pushing out, proliferating applications out to all those deals. We had a big thing called the ITV Day in October of 2009. We had it 1 month. Time Warner had it the next month. We had a lot of vendors in to show everyone within our MSO, what it is we do and can be done with ITV. Most of the things that we showed on October 5th of 2009 have never been deployed, and we feel good about that. So, because we're a cable operator, and that's the way we roll. We launched. We then really, when we came in, we had all these vendors, and I'm not going to mention any of them that we had in then, but we had lots of vendors come in showing all these cool apps that can be built on here. The only problem is you have to test those apps before you can deploy them, and testing just killed everything. We have this great idea, we can build this cool app, but we can't get it through testing. And so what our expectations were, we were going to launch, and I set up on a podium much like this, except with about 200 people, mostly superiors of mine, and I said, we're going to launch 50 networks over the next 2 years. So far, we've launched HSN, and we're doing well. Yay, go HSN. Now I can't say any of the numbers I was going to say about HSN, but I have the billions of dollars that we're doing ITV revenue through HSN since they're here. But we really transitioned from, we're going to be very focused on bound apps tied to programming to augment the content that's there with polls and trivia and commerce and those kinds of things, really this is a platform that we can use for services that aren't necessarily obvious or intuitive to the user who's using them. And the first one of those we launched was the Xfinity TV app in Q4 of 2010. The other thing that really the benefit we got out of that was now we don't have necessarily long testing cycles because we're not getting in front of users with a new part of the user interface. We're not touching all of the guide components that are built into the set-top boxes. So when we launched the Xfinity TV app, we launched a little EBIF app that was built by our friends in Mill Valley. And the last spin of that we did before we launched, we from start to finish, it was about 2 weeks. We launched it over a three-night period across the nation to 14.5 million set-top boxes. And the next day, we dropped our application into Apple for approval, and 6 weeks later, we were done. And then we had an application available on iPhones and iPads that could control your TV. It didn't have all the controls we wanted, and we're still working on that today. So I'll talk about where we're going. So today, we're in 15.5 million households, our entire Motorola footprint. We've got 3 million more households that we'll be bringing online in our Cisco households within Comcast. We have multiple Spotlight apps that we're doing today. We have Spotlight apps that we've written internally. We also have Spotlight apps that are being rewritten by InSequence that we're getting ready to deploy right now, RFI and VOD telescoping, Remind Record. We're actually syndicating some of these functionalities out today so that other websites can put a record button on a program promotion, and users that are in our footprint can select that record button. It actually show up if they're in our footprint and they've logged on with one of our apps. They can hit that record button and set a recording on their DVR in their household with nothing, no user experience coming from Comcast. We also have a watermarking application deployed by Spotlight to allow us to get back data on set-top boxes that are actually viewing our local ads. Home shopping network, on the Spotlight apps, we've generated about 4.5 billion interactive impressions to date through over 1,700 campaigns. So a lot of impressions that we're doing there. We're still learning a lot of what we're doing, and we're still, within Sequence, enhancing the functionality of our applications. On the home shopping network side, again, we've launched that. We've gone to our entire footprint from a SD perspective. We actually just launched it on the HD channel and unfortunately rolled that back really quickly, not because of a problem with that application, but with a problem with another application that we couldn't find. So we rolled back several things we had done. But we saw over 500,000 orders in 2011 just off of the SD channel. And I can't tell you how many dollars that was, but it was many dollars. It was many dollars of revenue for us. It was many dollars of revenue for HSN. And a lot of this comes from customers who flip to HSN, see a push OK select to shop that pops up on their screen. They actually start interacting with that button. They walk all the way through a process, and then we realize that they don't have an account. So they get a special phone number that they call. They call that number. They set up an account, and then they shop. And you know, I haven't seen numbers for the last few months, but we were hitting on a cadence of about 1,000 to 1,500 new HSN shoppers per month who had not shopped at HSN before, who set up an account by seeing the interactive bug pop up on an SD channel, and then went through the entire process of getting an account set up, then going back and shopping on their TV, buying, holding for at least 30 days, and not returning that product. So it does work, and that's with zero training. We've never had any promotion for shop by remote on our air. There's not a lot of calls to action on the HSN channel because it's not distributed everywhere. It's just inherent and intuitive to people who see the bug that pops up. Smart App. This is a new program we're working. Those 50 programmers that we were launching 3 years ago with ITV, we're launching them in the next 48 years. I promise. Maybe with EBIF, maybe without. But we're working with InSequence to build a singular application that several programmers to date have committed to deploying and working with so that they can enhance their channels. And that'll be launching hopefully very early next year. We also use EBIF for guide extensions. We do some of our menuing in EBIF. We have a product called the Queue, which we haven't launched yet. So this is the ability to go online and add programs to your queue. You can manage your queue online. Then you'll be able to pull up an EBIF app on your TV right out of our menu, which will be your queue. And you can come in and you can select a program out of the queue, an on-demand program, and play it right there. You don't do anything else on the TV except select the program that you've set up online and play it, and that'll be 100% EBIF. Same thing with linear upsell. With linear upsell, you'll tune to HBO. If you're not a subscriber, we'll walk you through a series of EBIF screens. Look just like the guide and act just like the guide, and allow you to upsell to HBO or select a package of premium channels that you want to go to. And then on the right-hand side of the screen here, I'm really taking a long time, aren't I? That's pretty good, isn't it? It's good. That's what's nice about being first, right? So the right-hand side is really this stuff on the left-hand side, besides Smart App stuff, so we've got it deployed today. We're using it, like I said, day in, day out. Stuff on the right-hand side is really where we're going. And these are things like control apps. And I'm set up to do a demo for you. And I was going to plug it on the TV, but how many people have seen Xfinity TV on like an iPad? Has everyone seen this? I'm probably not going to walk through it, but you can scroll through. You can pick a program, Ghost Whisperer. I can watch on TV, or I can record. I'm going to watch it on TV, get this nice little bling, and then it tunes your channel. And I just tune the channel at home. So it's really great. This is a nice control app. For any linear television, you use this. You don't have to pick up your silver remote. And the last panel that Debbie and I were on, 2 years ago, I think, when we were just launching this, I made a statement that I would never watch VOD on a legacy set-top box again, except by controlling it through my iPad. And to date, I have not. So right there. That's awesome, isn't it? That's great. I haven't watched any VOD in the last 2 years, but no, it really is. It's a great tool. So what we're doing with this now is we have people, 1 million people every month that use this application and go in and play with it out of our 20 million subs. I wasn't supposed to say numbers, but so roughly 1 million people, somewhere south of 5 million people that use it on a monthly basis. But we're doing other things. We have a sports app that we turned out. The nice thing about the sports app, took us 90 days to build. No 18-month cycles. We built it. We use the same APIs that we have for the Xfinity TV app to control. We have nice feeds on there. You can keep up with games that are on right now. We have red zone alerts. We have all of these things. We're looking at doing other things. Again, I'm not announcing or talking about anything that Comcast is doing, but we could in the future do something like music, a music app, where it's playlist driven, and you might select, you might pull up an app. I happen to have one right here. I have a little iPhone. Could be an iTouch. You don't really know, but we have millions of customers every month that play music videos. We play 80 million music videos a month within the Comcast footprint. That's a lot of music videos. And if you've ever played a music video using Blue Guide, going through the blue wieners to find a music video, how many people have done that in here? Anyone? I don't blame you, because I wouldn't. It really sucks. You have to navigate through here. You go into video on demand. You go down to music. You go into some category I can't even pronounce. Then you go find an artist, and you have 3 videos in there, and you select one of them, and it plays. And then when it's done, you go back to the menu. And you select another artist, and then you select a music video, and you play. And it plays music video, and that's great. And we do over 80 million of those a month. It's incredible that we have that much. But imagine on this device, if I had something that was playlist driven, and I could download playlists from Spotify or from iTunes, and I could go in and select a playlist that was maybe even personalized to me, or I could select an editorial playlist, or I could select an artist, or I could search, or maybe we would even look at your friends. And we would recommend a playlist based off your friends' music likes. Stuff like that. Could be stuff that could be done with an app like this. And you select an artist, and it just starts playing. And it plays out on your TV. And, ooh, I don't like this Eminem song. I swipe, and it just goes to the next one. And then it continues to play out. And I can share out to Facebook that I like this artist and this song. I can see their Twitter feeds. I've got built-in second screen interactivity. That turns out to be pretty cool. When you have millions of people a month who play music videos, this is the kind of application that we can do, build in very short order, and get out to the field to allow people to utilize EBIF, this thing that no one knows that we really have deployed, to control their set-top box and their TV viewing experience. And that's the kind of cool things that you can do with EBIF that the user never really sees. They just know it's great. I control my whole experience. I never have to pick up a remote. Never have to interact with the Blue Guide. By the way, we don't have to change the software in the Blue Guide to make that happen. It just works, and it's built in today. So those are the things we're looking at. We did demo a What's On application at NCTA. I sort of feel uncomfortable. I'm an MSO, and we had the biggest booth at NCTA with all this new stuff, and I felt like we were trying to sell it to people, and I sort of don't get that. But we had this What's On application. And it's all about what people are watching right now. Pull it up. It's got the top 10 programs that are watched right now in your market. You select a program. It tunes your TV. Pretty easy. You know, I don't know why for the vast population, why they'd ever use a grid ever again when we can do that. Or again, we can give you the top 10 programs that your friends are watching right now. We can give you the top 10 things that are on VOD right now, and you can just, again, select them and start. Those are things that we're doing in that area. Other things, alerts and messaging. So today we do caller ID. One of our little outage that we had an effect on caller ID in a certain number of households recently, and we got a lot of calls from that. It was pretty interesting because 2 years ago when we were first deploying EBIF, we thought no one cared about caller ID on the TV. Everyone cares about caller ID on the TV. If you don't believe it, you just take it away. And the phones start ringing, and they really do care about it. That's done through EBIF today. We're going to take the capability that we built for caller ID, and we're going to expand that. We'll allow voicemail to show up on a text voicemail to show up on your TV. We'll also allow messaging to the TV. So if you want to send a message, I can pull up a little application. I can send a message to the TV in my basement and say, it's dinner time, get your up here for dinner. And that message is there. Or I could send a message out to my entire family. I could hit all my TVs plus all their personal devices that they've logged in and registered. Those are some other things we're looking at, plus as well as alerts. Again, a major component of what we want to do is to get messages to users, such as customers of our home security product, that, hey, the front door just opened. You know, you might not know that if you're sitting in the basement and you're right in the middle of a movie and your entire family's in there, and we can send a little alert that says your front door opened. Switch it very quickly and see a picture of what the camera showed up there. You know, these are all things that we can do with EBIF today. And the last thing that we're doing with EBIF today is something called tuner status. And you know, since we all brought up ACR like 37 times in the last hour or two in the last panel, ACR is great. It's wonderful if you have an application on a device that's up and it's running and it's listening. We don't necessarily need that, right? Because we know what every set-top box is doing. And if you've registered with one of our apps and tied it to a set-top box, we know that you're in your house and we know that, you know, you're ready to interact. So we can use our alerts, our notifications, we can use some of our control apps, and we can provide tuner status back so that our back-end systems know what you're watching and what you might be interested in tuning to from a second screen experience. So if you happen to be watching Chopped, we know that we can pop an alert right up here that says, would you like to play along with Chopped? And vote the next chef off the show. And we can do that second screen very quickly with no required interaction on the TV.
All right. Thank you very much, Todd. I think we'll wait and see if there's time for questions at the end, but I'm thinking not.
Very exciting.
It's very exciting. All with the magic of EBIF. I love the music app idea. When might we see that, hypothetically speaking?
I have no idea.
Oh,
We're
okay.
going to pitch it in a couple months.
All right.
So.
All right. Up next, we have Chip Newton, Director of Business Development at Softel, responsible for establishing both technical alliances and reseller affiliations for Softel's products and services in the Americas.
I'm waiting for there we go. I was waiting for the laptop to show my presentation. Hello, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed the show so far. I just wanted to describe for a few minutes how broadcasters and operators can own the second screen experience using EBIF triggers. First, I want to go through what the marketplace is currently right now as we see it, and then talk for a minute about our solution to that, which is called MediaSphere Bridge. Right now, out there, there are second screen applications, as we've been talking about over the past couple days, and it's certainly well known in the audience of this show that viewers expect to be able to interact with their television, either on the TV or more commonly on a second screen device, as we've been talking about. But the problem with that is that the second screen device is, the second screen applications, the developers are oftentimes not broadcasters. And so you get people who don't understand television developing apps that might not be best for the audience. More importantly, those app developers that could put an app up on, say, the iTunes Store and circumvent the operator and the broadcaster from that second screen experience. So it cuts them out, and that's a problem. A little bit about Softel. We have a history of working with broadcasters. We've been in business since 1983, so almost 30 years now, serving broadcasters and operators. And so we have two main divisions of our product lines. The first is related to closed captions and triggering, ad insertion, that kind of thing. The second is our MediaSphere product line that maybe some of you have heard about before. We've taken the experience and knowledge we've gained from both of those product lines and combined them into something we're calling MediaSphere Bridge, something that our CEO, Sam Pemberton, announced at the Cable Show last month. Put simply, MediaSphere Bridge allows the viewer to interact with the programming in the way that's most natural for them, whether that's the first screen, the television, or the second screen. Doesn't matter to us. We use EBIF, pointing to this panel, to insert broadcast triggers into the stream coming out of a programmer. But it's delivered both through the cable network and through IP, so it can go to both the television and to a second screen. So again, the result is that the viewers get a chance to engage the way that is most comfortable and natural to them, but also, and most importantly, the broadcasters and the operators retain control of that relationship and the second screen and the interactive experience that viewers are taking advantage of. This can happen with both main programming and advertising, so it's quite flexible. I want to give a quick demonstration. Maybe you can switch over to the video of what we have in mind. This is kind of what we've been showing downstairs, if you've seen it at our table. This is a Coke ad that I think Sam had used as well in his panel yesterday. What I'm going to do is interact using my cable remote to bring up a game, if you can see it here on the iPad, which says, guess how many polar bears have touched the Coke bottle as it gets tossed around during the commercial, right? I happen to know the answer is 17, so I'll click that, and I get, congratulations, you're a winner, and look out for a coupon in your inbox, all right? One of the cool things we can do about that then is take that result and say, let's say all 80 of us in here, or whatever there are sitting in my living room. I have a big living room, and I want to take that and share that with you, so I can flick that up onto the screen. And what I've just done is we've gone from cable to second screen and second screen back to cable. We've done the entire loop and in both directions. All right. Thanks, Sam. Another one that I want to show. Let me go to a different channel on our cable box. Oops, I went too far. Everybody likes the Bears.
Okay, Les, we are going to need you to look after the tires.
I love you guys. Box now.
As much as I'd like to show you what somebody called our babeware, I'm going to skip that one and go on to something that's related to this year's presidential election. So we get the call to action that appears at the bottom of the screen, and we're giving, in this case, with our demo EBIF app, the choice to interact on your second screen device through a web browser, or the red button is on the TV, the traditional EBIF solution. Let me just bring that up. And so the traditional EBIF interaction is if I press the red button on my remote, which the Brits know all about, the press red, and then I get a choice here of how I expect to vote, right? And I can pick one of those and send that through the cable network back out to a aggregation system in the cloud then that result of that is sent back to me on the device that I use to initially do the interaction. All right, so I get the results of this, and that comes back on my TV. All right. Now, when this comes back, I'm going to do the same kind of thing, but do it on my second screen. So we'll wait for the app to come back up.
Thank you.
One of these two guys is going to be our president next year.
Thank you for that welcome.
Okay, so
Thank you.
similar to what we did with the Bears,
Delaware, Rhode
I can
Island, Connecticut, and New York. Thank you.
choose the yellow triangle. I get the exact same kind of user experience on my iPad that we had on the main screen, and I'll pick the other guy. And so I get that same kind of result, again going through the aggregation system in the cloud that's returned to the device that I interacted with initially. And like I did with the Bears, I can then share that with everybody who is in my living room with me.
Join you in honoring the class of 2012.
So that's it for that demo. Let me just acknowledge that. If we can switch back to the PowerPoint for a moment, please. Okay, so I wanted to give you a quick overview of how we're going about doing that. At the programmer, we are inserting what we call an iMark. It's a trigger, an EBIF-based trigger that travels through the cable network out to a household. And the viewer gets a chance to interact like we saw, and the interaction is aggregated in the cloud and returned to the viewer on the device in which he interacted. Same kind of thing you can do with a second screen, and you can see here it's two ways for either the traditional on-screen television interaction or through a second screen. All right? So just give you a quick summary of what we're all about with MediaSphere Bridge, and I will wrap things up. Try to be a little bit quicker this time. So again, seamless interactivity for the viewer. They get the chance to pick whether they want to interact on their television or on their second screen, whatever comes naturally to them. It doesn't matter to us. The TV and the second screen, as you saw in my demonstration, are linked to each other. So we're enabling real two-way interaction through either device. And again, actually not again, this is a point I haven't made yet. The iMarks, the triggers that are starting at the broadcaster are launched by an automation system. We've got automation integrations completed already with Harris and Snell and Probel and some of the other major automation system manufacturers. So those EBIF triggers are then launched by that automation system and sent out. So that becomes part of the entire broadcast experience. And again, if I can make one point really clear, it's that the broadcasters and the programmers now get to control the second screen experience with the viewers. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Maybe that hybrid model really is the way to go. So there are a lot of neat and cool things coming out with EBIF and second screens, and there definitely is a need to do testing and quality assurance of all of these. Ian Harris is here representing S3 Group. He's S3 Group's Director of Product Marketing and Sales, and he's going to tell us about how to go about testing this.
Okay, so the challenges as we see it for the environment we're in today is threefold. We've got consumers that are expecting to be able to see their content on all sorts of different devices. That's just how they expect to do things now. They expect television to work the way TVs always have. It's reliable, it's robust, you change channels, it just works, it's fast, it doesn't crash, it doesn't reboot. And we're all under pressure to reduce costs. So I haven't talked to a single company over the last 6 months, even a year now, where there isn't some sort of pressure to try and reduce the amount of expenditure on everything that they're doing. Still, we're in a competitive environment. We still need to launch new products, new applications, new EBIF applications. How can we do all this? Well, the answer that we've found through our work in terms of doing systems integration is by using automation to try and take the human element out of testing for applications and put it under some sort of automated control. So we have a product called Storm Test. There's other automated tools as well, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about our experience in terms of what automation means in this environment and some of the results of actually using this, deploying applications, and how that's worked out. So how can you use automated test? Well, once you've got control of the set-top box, if you can do the same thing a human can do, if you can send it remote control key presses, if you can read what's on the screen, if you can see the images and the video and understand what's happening, and then put that under automated control, then you can do end-to-end validation of a platform from the very start, making sure that the set-top box data, the EPG data, the template that you're using in an EBIF application is correct, and compare that with what's actually going on back at the head end. So you can do it all the way from beginning to end. So unlike humans that kind of look at the screen and go, yeah, it seems about right, once it's under automated control, you can do that from beginning to end. The classic case, of course, is during QA. If you're actually trying to make sure, like with Todd trying to get his applications out there onto the network, testing is very difficult if you're trying to do that using humans, mostly because we're kind of a bit lazy. We do it once, we don't do it 10 times. Imagine if you could put it under automated control. Instead of testing your application once, if you tested it 1,000 times overnight. And then if you could drill down and find that one error that occurred 1 in 1,000 times, then if you've got 20 million boxes that are doing this out on your network, a 1 in 1,000 error is happening all the time out on the network. So it is actually really important to do really thorough testing, but that can only really be done under automation. Humans just can't do things 1,000 times. By the time they've done it twice, they're bored. Okay, and the other aspect that becomes very important is being able to test multiple devices at the same time. So if you have control of your set-top box and you also have control of your iPad and your gateway device, and you can get your hands on those in an automated sense, then you can check that doing something on your iPad has the correct effect on the set-top box. You can select a recording to be started on the set-top box and then actually check that the set-top box does the recording, then check that it plays back okay. And then all those interactions are becoming more and more complicated. So having that under automated control makes it much easier to test. Once you've got some scripts that are actually doing these tests, then you can push those tests from your QA department and put it back out into the live network environment. So it's one thing to test that the app works in your QA lab, but if you're deploying EBIF applications, it's really nice to know that it actually did pop up on all these set-top boxes at the right time and the right content was playing over the right ad, for example. There's no point having an ad for one product actually in the linear video, but then actually having an interactive ad that has nothing to do with that particular piece of content. So having that match up, being able to understand that, putting that out into the network becomes very important. Of course, once you've got automation around or testing all these applications, you can pull those results into a central database. You can get some stats in terms of how the boxes are performing and whether the applications are taking longer over time, trying to find out some information about what's happening across the collection of set-top boxes you've got becomes possible. And something I'll show you in a minute is being able to do logging of these results. So if you've got some sort of automation control over these applications, then half the time if you're developing an application, the problem is not so much testing it by hand, but then proving to the application author that there was actually a problem. Oh, I pressed this key and that key and something went wrong when I ran the app. Oh yeah, well we can't reproduce it over here. I'm sure we've all heard that from vendors. Well, being able to capture that and then push those results back across to the vendor and say, look, here's exactly what happened. Here's a recording of the video. Here's the test running. Here's the problem. Then you can actually solve that a lot quicker. So what's the result? Well, this is a graph from one of the operators that we're working with in the UK. Now, in this particular case, it's doing automated tests of the actual set-top box firmware, but the same thing applies to application testing. And you can see that as they've increased the amount of automation of those tests, and they have thousands of tests to run on the firmware, you can see that the amount of time required by people in order to deploy, in order to do that testing, has been reduced by about 80%. So you're almost halving the amount of time that it takes to do the testing. Now, that has two effects. The first is you can either de-risk the deployment of those applications by being able to having more time for things to go wrong, or you can actually get your product out to market quicker. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you a video log of one of these tests running so you can actually see the EBIF application under automated control. So as always with these sorts of things, we'll see if it actually works. Okay, so here's the result of a test that was run previously. So if I actually start the log player now, you can see that the video's running, you can see the applications loading up. Down in the bottom half of the screen there, you can see the actual commands going to the automation system. On the right-hand side, in this particular case, it's a language called Python, which is used to turn those set of manual test steps into something that computers can understand. We also have a graphical user interface way of doing that, just like a Visio flowchart, except instead of doing a normal, just a picture of a flowchart, it actually executes the test. So at this point, you know exactly what's on the screen. You know, you can read the text, you can see the graphics, you can make decisions about whether the actual test, whether the actual application completed correctly, and then be able to log that as well. Now that's fine, but it also gives you the ability to go back in time and pull up a particular point within the actual video, and that gives you the, so you can actually stop the script halfway through, you can see what it was doing at the time, you can actually find things within the log and be able to search for errors as they occurred during that particular test. So it's a very powerful way of being able to test your EBIF applications and deploy them quicker.
All right. Thank you very much. Carey, we've got about 15 minutes total left, so we'll see how it goes. Okay. Very nice. Each one's getting shorter and shorter.
All right, I got to do a little
But-
equipment switch here.
We have 15 minutes. Up next, we have Carey Sonsino. Carey is a senior engineer at Cablelabs with over 7 years of interactive television development experience. He started at Cablelabs by overseeing the publication of the IO5 and IO6 EBIF specifications, yet he stayed at Cablelabs. And now he's actually getting to develop applications against the specs that he developed. So I guess it's a little bit of eating his own dog food. He's recently been researching some innovative ways to utilize the ETV platform. Prior to joining Cablelabs, he also developed interactive applications within Sequence.
All right, so I have a few slides that I'm going to try and get through pretty quick so we can see the demo. Mostly it's just kind of background information. As everyone else has mentioned, ETV or EBIF is really good at doing, a bunch of different things. Today I'm really going to focus on the aspect of synchronizing additional content with video, whether that's on the primary screen or the second screen. So augmented reality, for anyone who's not familiar with augmented reality, the basic idea is to overlay virtual content on an image of the real world. And I'm going to go through a couple ways that augmented reality is typically implemented. So here's a few apps that I have on my iPhone that use geolocation to give an augmented reality experience. So basically, we're using the device's GPS and compass to figure out where I am and which way I'm facing. And then, you can kind of display virtual additional stuff. So the top left is an app that you pointed at mountain peaks, and it shows you which mountains you're looking at. The one on the top right there is a stargazer app where you point it up at the sky, and it shows you what stars you're looking at. And then the bottom one is a local real estate listings app where you kind of move your phone around and it shows you real estate for sale. Another way that you can do augmented reality is with visual marker tracking or image tracking. So the kind of that pair of images on the top is using that image of the Lego box there to then, the device will recognize that image and then display a 3D model of what the Lego model looks like built. And then the bottom pair of images is actually some images that I took from the Sony PS Vita handheld, which came out in, I think, February of this year. And this little handheld shipped with a set of cards that you lay out on the table, and then it basically builds a soccer field using those cards. And so you can kind of see that the top left is that top left stand, and then the top right is the scoreboard, and then the bottom three make up the field. And so that's using marker tracking. So when you talk about trying to do an augmented reality experience in the context of television, both geolocation and visual marker tracking are really not optimal for a number of reasons. So typically GPS and the compass don't work very well indoors. It's hard to get a precise fix and all that. And then also when you're trying to do the visual marker tracking, if you're sitting 10, 15 feet away from your TV, it's hard to get your device to recognize that image without either making it the full size of the screen or having the user have to get up and walk over, which is kind of awkward. EBIF or ETV or EBIF can provide this similar context without these limitations, because basically all you need to do is use the network and network traffic to provide that context. And as an additional benefit, the AR content can be tightly synchronized with what's currently on the screen. So this is kind of the basic system architecture. The dotted line kind of shows like what's in the MSO network, basically the plan and the set-top box. The MSO aggregator is actually a piece of the Cablelabs SAFI, or Stewardship and Fulfillment Interface specifications, which is basically a standard way for the set-top boxes to send messages back to a server in the head end using a well-defined format and such. Over to the left of that dotted box, I have an application server, which basically has a little bit of custom functionality that kind of goes along with the application, the EBIF application. So there's some code on the head end that is really, knows about the EBIF application and can kind of manage the messages. So just as a side note, Cablelabs, we did write some white papers, both on augmented reality with enhanced television and also QR codes and enhanced television. And if I have time at the end, I'm going to try and do a quick QR code demo. Debbie's actually holding up a copy of one of those innovation briefs. And we have a few copies, but these, and I'll have my laptop if you guys want to scan the QR codes. These will take you to PDF versions of those documents. So what I'm going to do now is switch over to my demo. If I can get this over there. Okay. So, here's kind of the standard EBIF prompt. So the scenario here is you're watching TV and you get a commercial for a furniture store. And this commercial is enhanced with EBIF content. And as I mentioned, you get kind of a standard EBIF prompt, press select to interact. And if I can hit that. Okay. Oh, I hit it twice. I got the mini view. Get it back. Okay, so here's the EBIF enhanced content of my virtual furniture store. And as you can see here, as I press left and right, I get a couple different pieces of furniture that I can browse through. And if I launch my second screen app, and I'm going to plug the output of this iPad into the projector in just a minute. But basically, what you can see is as I change the furniture model, it's actually going to push a 3D model of that furniture over to my iPad. And so what I can do here is I can hold my iPad up in my room. I'm just going to go back real quick. I'm going to show you the iPad view.
Everybody close your eyes for a second.
Yeah, I'm going to try and
really
do this
serious.
without making everybody sick.
And then I'll tell you when you can open him, because he's real shaky when he does this.
It's really when I pick the iPad up, that's the problem. All right. And all these cords make it really hard.
Okay.
Here we go.
Open.
Okay. So what I can do here is I can drag this couch around, can size it a little bit better. I can rotate it and position it in my room. Maybe all my other furniture is brown or blue, so I can change the color. And basically, I can see what this thing looks like right in my living room, and can line it up where I want it and see if this goes with all my other furniture. So really, that's kind of the idea here, is really just to kind of give the user a pretty cool, compelling second screen experience, and leverage that EBIF infrastructure to give it relevant to the context of what's on TV. Well, we should give the hand to Don Dolcinos, because this was his brainchild idea. And
Yes, and I don't know if you noticed, that was Don Dolcinos as Captain Don.
all right.
Rebecca asked, where did all the rum go?
Okay, so let's see, do I have time to go through this? Okay. So another kind of interesting thing that you can do with EBIF is you can use EBIF to display QR codes right on the primary screen. And as I mentioned earlier, we did a white paper on kind of some of the implications of using QR codes on television, and we discussed things like why you might want to put it in a graphical overlay versus burning it into video. I think if anyone was here at the last session in this room, a comment was made that you have to be Billy the Kid to scan a QR code on TV, because by the time you get your phone out, unlock it, launch the app, the thing is gone. It's off the screen already. But when you use EBIF to do this, you really kind of put that control more in the viewer's hand, and they can decide when that QR code is shown and when it goes away. As Debbie said, I'm an engineer, so I'm going to sidestep all the business and legal issues about overrunning your 30-second spot with interactivity. But basically, for anyone who's not familiar with the QR code, it's basically a 2D barcode, and people use it for a number of things. You can embed URLs, phone numbers, contact information, all sorts of stuff in there. And when we talk about the second screen QR experience, as I said, not only is there problems with timing when you put it in the video, but by using EBIF to display a QR code, you can actually have the set-top box send its ID back to the server. The server can generate a unique QR code based upon that set-top box ID, so that when the viewer scans it, you can basically correlate that viewer back to their interest in clicking that remote. If you put a QR code in video, everybody gets that same QR code, so you kind of lose that individual correlation. And as I said, I'm going to sidestep all the privacy concerns there. Another thing, there are some tricky things about using QR codes on television that we found out with an experiment. We did a quick experiment to see, how big do I have to make the QR code on the screen, and how far can I scan it from with a couple of different smartphones. And we found some other interesting things, like ambient light made a huge difference. Some phones, they scanned better in the dark. Some phones scanned better in the light. So that was kind of unexpected. But there are variations in device cameras and reader software and such. So before I show you this demo, I'm going to show you, this is a graph of the experiment that we did. And it shows a couple of different TVs. I think we have the TVs listed in the white paper. But it was basically two different sizes. One was like a 24-inch and one was like a 50-inch or something. And we did three different smartphones. So this is kind of the average readability and how far away you can be and still actually scan that code. So now I'm going to switch over to my demo. Should have queued it up here. It's going to take a few seconds to load here.
By the way, this is being demonstrated on the Cablelabs OCAP RI, running the Cablelabs ETV user agent. So even though he's running on a laptop, it really is a true EBIF user agent running on OCAP.
All right. So my app's going to come up in just a second. And basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use red laser over my iPad to scan this QR code. And if anyone in the audience tries it, it's not going to take you anywhere useful because it's a local network. But let's see here. OK, so now I get my prompt, get your QR code reader ready, and press OK for a special offer. Video should come up, but I'm not going to wait for it. Oh, there it goes. OK. So I press select. Basically, what just happened, I click select. The app sent my set-top box ID back to the server. It generated that unique QR code. And I don't have internet access. Normally, I'd tiny URL that and make it a better, easier to scan from a distance away. But let's see if I can get this. Too close. It's about to go away, isn't it?
One. All right. I think the countdown clock is a great idea, though, because then that tells you, how long you really have.
Yeah, but basically what you would have seen had I been able to scan it was basically, I would get taken directly to a coupon page where I get a personalized coupon, and as I mentioned, that MSO aggregator in the back in the head end actually received when I clicked OK, it received a message saying this set-top box ID expressed interest, and then actually in the URL that is encoded into that QR code is also the set-top box ID. So when I scan it, I can actually send a message from the iPad back to that same server saying, okay, now they fulfilled that interest in request, and you can kind of correlate, do a full closed loop on that.
All right, very good. Unfortunately, I'm getting the close signal over here, so we're going to have to end this panel. I want to thank all the panelists for showing us some really exciting things that you can do with EBIF. And also, if you're interested, you can come up and get a copy of these white papers that are up here. There's one on QR codes and one on the augmented reality work that Cablelabs did. And the next session is the plenary that's down in the forum. Thank you all for coming.